So we're working with wild animals. Even though these birds are in these falcons and hawks are in captivity, they're still very much wild animals. They're not domesticated, and like I said, they're not a social animal. So it's the training and the process. I try not to overcomplicate it. It's food as a reward for doing what you want them to do, which is chasing birds. Um, you know, that being said, they have a mind of their own. they they are actually the who's in charge here. I'm just here to supervise and make sure that nothing goes wrong. That they don't tangle with a wild hawk or eagle or land in the road or something. I'm here to intervene when things get hinky like that, and to reward them when they do what we want them to do, which is chase birds. So we bring a whole team of birds to a farm because, like I said, they have a mind of their own. Sometimes, a bird might not feel like working. Maybe it's overcast that day and a little drizzly, and some birds, will fly in that and others won't. So if one bird isn't working, then we'll, feed them a little bit and put them away and get out another bird. I think on the Norris Ranch right now, we have two falconers working, and a total of eight falcons and one hawk. 7 falcons and one hawk that are covering this ground. So it's kind of a juggling act. Keeping all that in balance and keeping everybody in the right weight range so that they're in the mood to fly and chase things and healthy still. And not only that, but we're covering a large area, hundreds and hundreds of acres, and that's not all contiguous. So we have ranches that are separated by sometimes a half mile, and then another ranch that we fly for Norris that is 45 minutes south of here. So we're just skipping around and just concentrating on the areas where the nuisance birds are most prevalent, and then flying the other blocks as well to remind the birds, like, hey, we're here too, so don't come in. um and all, like you said, I'm making it sound simple, but there are a lot of problems that can arise, or challenges, beyond whether the bird wants to work or not that particular time that we bring them out. Sometimes they decide to go on a walkabout and fly off. So we keep radio telemetry on the birds, and GPS as well, so that we can track them, and bring them back to the farm. And again, back to the reward system. Like, if you don't reward the bird for doing that, when they leave, you don't give them a reward. You just kind of gather them up and bring them back to the ranch, and then they can start earning the rewards again. And you can, train the wanderlust, if you will, out of them for that particular area. They learn, okay, well, I need to stay here over these blueberries to earn my reward and do my job. Um, let's see. Wild raptors are not a problem, but we encounter them regularly. Not often do they fight with each other or tangle, but it can happen. Power lines can be a hazard. There's most power lines most power lines are updated and modern to where the parts that are hazardous to birds, electrocution wise, um, are insulated now. That didn't used to be the case. So occasionally you come across like an old power line system that is, dangerous. So you got to keep the birds away from that. Or, we're flying often, near busy roads. So you have to keep the birds, from wandering into the road, and again, not reward them for going into that area. and they learn like, okay, well, I don't go over there because that's not what we're doing. It's not where I earn my food, and we're not chasing birds there. Um, there's challenges with the weather, like I mentioned, like if it's raining or overcast, like the humidity can even affect like how easily they fly. Heavy humidity makes the air heavier, and it takes more energy for them to fly, and the heat, especially in blueberry season here, we getting into July and August, we're gonna have some really hot days, and so we'll concentrate on flying the falcons in the mornings and the evenings, and then use other means of scaring away the birds, during the heat of the day, like remote control airplanes, or um, you can use like nets, or to keep them off the fruit, or to trap the birds, depending on which species you're working with. It's a big ontaking. The you know the permits, and then training the birds, and then keeping them on the ranch, and keeping them healthy, and I keep a small pharmacy worth of medications on hand in case the bird gets sick or injured, or um, you know it's it's not only is it there a lot to learn, and that's why we do it as an apprenticeship. We have someone who's much more experienced than us, like take us under them and teach us, excuse me, step by step, like how to do what we're doing. But it becomes a lifestyle. Like it affects everything in your life, from your personal relationships to your to your home situation, where you can live, um, what you do in your free time. The leaving home is a challenge sometimes. It's there's a lot to it. It's a lifestyle.